Hello everyone, welcome to a special video on my channel. If you are new here, my name is Prince and I love movies. If you've seen any of my video essays or any other videos on this channel, something I try to incorporate. Today I want to talk about a few movies that are radical in some nature that have really shaped me as an organizer, a writer, an artist, a human being, someone that cares about liberation, film. And these are movies that have really just struck me in some shape or form over time. And if you want to dig into some more radical movies for my podcast, the Dugout Black Anarchist podcast, we have a letterbox list called Anarchist on Film, where it's literally thousands of movies that are radical in some way. And then I also have another resource, which is Solidarity Cinema, that I'll include a link to in the description and in a Patreon post. So if you want to learn more about radicalism cinema on a global level, you'll have a huge list of movies to pick from. But without further ado, let's get into the first movie on my list.
I want a world where kids can play and plenty of food to eat. I want a world where I can speak and know that I'll be free. I want a world just like America, like the USA. 'Cause even though perfect it's not, it's the best thing this world's got. And we learn those types of songs. So we learn not to question our government and be grateful for everything we got. But we didn't know that it was at the expense of many other people in our own country and all over the world. Because you're taught to fear that you don't have enough and want and want and want. So it perpetuates greed.
First movie that I want to mention is Black Power Mixtape. This came out in 2011 and it was directed by Oren Olsen. This documentary assembles Swedish archive footage from 1967 to 1975 to show the rise of the Black Power movement in the United States, and it premiered to critical acclaim at Sundance. I saw this film for the first time around maybe 2016, 17, and it has stayed with me because I first saw it when I was getting into anarchism and radical movements, and it was my first time really seeing a movie about Black radicalism that was a documentary. Like, I hadn't really seen Stokely Carmichael in this way. I hadn't really seen Malcolm X or James Baldwin or Angela Davis even. It was really an entryway, and there's so many parts of the movie that I think ground me, like the interview with Angela Davis where she's being asked about violence and she kind of claps back.
Black Panthers passed?
The Black Panthers still exist, and the Black Panthers are still extremely active in the Oakland community and in communities all over the country. I'm not sure whether you are aware of what is now happening in the Black Panther Party and the kinds of things that members of that party are doing.
No, but tell me.
First of all, if you're going to talk about a revolutionary situation, you have to have people who are physically able to wage revolution, who are physically able to organize and physically able to do all that is done.
Yeah, but the question is more, how do you get there? Do you get there by confrontation, violence?
Oh, is that the question you were asking?
Yeah.
But see, that's another thing. When you talk about a revolution, most people think violence, without realizing that the real content of any kind of revolutionary thrust lies in the principles and the goals that you're striving for, not in the way you reach them. On the other hand, because of the way this society is organized, because of the violence that exists on the surface everywhere, you have to expect that there are going to be such explosions. You have to expect things like that as reactions. If you are a Black person and live in the Black community all your life and walk out on the street every day seeing white policemen surrounding you, when I was living in Los Angeles, for instance, long before the situation in LA ever occurred, I was constantly stopped. No, the police didn't know who I was, but I was a Black woman. And I had a natural, and they, I suppose, thought that I might be a, quote, militant. And when you live under a situation like that constantly, and then you ask me, whether I approve of violence. I mean, that just doesn't make any sense at all. whether I approve of guns. I grew up in Birmingham, Alabama. Some very, very good friends of mine were killed by bombs that were planted by racists. I remember from the time I was very small, I remember the sounds of bombs exploding across the street, our house shaking. I remember my father having to have guns at his disposal at all times because of the fact that at any moment we might expect to be attacked. The man who was at that time in complete control of the city government, his name was Bull Connor, would often get on the radio and make statements like, niggers have moved into a white neighborhood, we better expect some bloodshed tonight. And sure enough, there would be bloodshed. After the 4 young girls who lived, one of them lived next door to me. I was very good friends with the sister of another one. My sister was very good friends with all 3 of them. My mother taught one of them in her class. My mother, in fact, when the bombing occurred, one of the mothers of one of the young girls called my mother and said, can you take me down to the church to pick up Carol? We heard about the bombing and I don't have my car. And they went down, and what did they find? They found limbs and heads strewn all over the place. And then after that, in my neighborhood, all of the men organized themselves into an armed patrol. They had to take their guns and patrol our community every night because they did not want that to happen again. I mean, that's why when someone asks me about violence, I just find it incredible. What it means is that the person who's asking that question has absolutely no idea what Black people have gone through, what Black people have experienced in this country since the time the first Black person was kidnapped from the shores of Africa.
In this period, the pain to remain the same outweighed the pain to change. I see that the time period brought on an evolution, and it's contagious like hot coals. One ignites the next, and the next, and the next, and the next. When you get tired enough, it's when you begin to want to sacrifice everything inside of you. The fear just leaves. This is what happened in this time period.
One of the first books that I read when I went away was a book by Angela Davis called Are Prisons Obsolete? So it allowed me to examine prisons within America from their history and their role in society. Life comes full circle sometimes. My senior paper prior to graduating was written on Angela Davis. And I studied her. I studied at her feet without ever meeting her, because agree with her or disagree with her, her thinking is so critical that it forces you to pay attention and to re-examine what you've taken for granted. To be reintroduced to one of my childhood heroes during one of the darkest periods of my life over the course of my own incarceration was moving, inspiring, cathartic, in some ways depressing. The book it's neither dense nor thick. It's almost pamphlet-like, which made it really accessible as an introductory text. Other inmates would see me reading and they'd come up to me and they'd say, well, John, I don't have a lot of experience with reading and I don't do it often, but can you recommend a book? And on many, many occasions, I went into my property locker and I pulled out that book and I made them promise to return it in the same condition that it was given. But that book was a treasure to me and it remains a treasure. It's one of the things that I took with me when I left.
Or I really love the interview between Kwame Ture and his mother. I think her name is Mabel, at the beginning, where he's just kind of trying to have a conversation around the poverty they experienced once they immigrated to the US. And it's just a beautiful archive of this time in history. And I think it's interesting that it's Swedish filmmakers, and it almost gives it this sort of more naive perspective. And so I just really, really recommend it. It has a lot of really beautiful archival footage. It has interviews interspersed throughout with contemporary Black folks like Questlove, like Erykah Badu. And it really does cover especially the rise of the Black Panther Party, COINTELPRO, the targeting of certain kinds of people. And it's like a movie that's like really easily available on YouTube. So I would just recommend watching it, downloading it, keeping a copy of it for yourself, showing it to your friends. It's really amazingly worth watching. The next movie is The Dreamers. This came out in 2003 and it was directed by Bernardo Bertolucci. Set in Paris during the 1968 uprisings, this film follows three young cinephiles as their intimate worlds collide with political upheaval, and it received both controversy and praise for its boldness. They live in this beautiful apartment, they pontificate about the violence that's happening outside, and they advocate for or against revolutionary violence, and the stuff with the siblings is weird. The main character is weird, but it's a beautiful movie. And I remember watching it around the time I went to Paris for the first time and experiencing a lot of the different movements that were happening, whether it be Nuit Debout or May Day.
They're good.
Listen, Matthew,
Yes.
you're a big movie buff, right?
Wait.
Then why don't you think of Mao as a great director making a movie with a cast of millions? All those millions of Red Guards marching together into the future with the little red book in their hands. Books, not guns. Culture, not violence. Can't you see what a beautiful, epic movie that would make?
I guess, but it's easy to say books, not guns. But it's not true. It's not books. It's book. A book. Just one book.
Shut up. You sound just like my father.
No, listen to me. The Red Guards that you admire, they all carry the same book. They all sing the same songs. They all parrot the same slogans. So, in this big, epic movie, everybody is an extra. That's scary to me. That gives me the creeps. I'm sorry to say it, but for me, there is a distinct contradiction.
Why?
Because if you really believed what you were saying, you'd be out there.
Where?
Out there on the street.
I don't know what you mean.
Yes, you do. There's something going on out there. Something that feels like it could be really important. Something that feels like things could change. Even I get that. But you're not out there. You're inside with me, drinking expensive wine.
The movie's beautiful. I think it brings up a lot of interesting philosophical questions about political violence. It's a younger Louis Garrel, who is a French actor, and I think now director, that I've just been into for a number of years. And if I actually think about that actor, he kind of looks like my ex. I don't know. It's just interesting when you think about films in these ways. And I think if you want to watch a film that depicts a certain kind of youthful radicalization in this sort of beautiful, pristine environment, it's an interesting movie, and I highly recommend watching it. Watch it with your art house, indie kind of friends, because all I'm saying is it's a little taboo. It's not just a little taboo. Just prepare yourself. Prepare yourself. Honestly. This next movie is The East. I think I saw this around the time that it came out in 2013 or 14, but it's directed by Zal Batmanglij. This eco-thriller starring Britt Marling and Alexander Skarsgård premiered at Sundance and was praised for its originality in tackling corporate power and resistance. Honestly, when I saw this, I didn't know what anarchism was. I didn't really know that it was a thing, and I remember seeing like the words Black Bloc and like the research she was doing. And I was thinking, what the heck is this? And little did I know in the next few years, I'd be having my own experiences. And
Killer Brood is the top private intelligence firm in the world. Anti-corporate terrorism is all about risk, and our job is to assess that risk for you. Are you dealing with a fly? It's harmless, easily swatted. Or is it a mosquito? Can it draw blood? Or is the threat the Black Widow? Sending you to the hospital, crashing your stock. Let's say it's a fly. You deal with it internally. Mosquito, our operative handles it, neutralizing the threat. Now, if it's the Black Widow, we'll have to see. We can extract our operative, liaise with the FBI, and leave no trace. Gentlemen, we are in 32 countries protecting your good names.
is this movie an accurate depiction of all forms of anarchism? No, but is it funny that one of the guys in the white anarchist cell is like secretly wealthy and the other people in the group kind of maybe do or don't know it? Is the security culture in this anarchist group really interesting is what I'll say. It's just a very entertaining movie, honestly. I think that's why I like it. I like like she's trying to hide, and then her and Alexander Skarsgård and this little tension, and then it has Elliot Page in it, which is really, really cool. So I would just recommend this movie. I would definitely give this movie, like, in terms of it being entertaining, I'd give it like a 4 out of 10. The next movie is something I've also included a lot of B-roll of on this channel. It's 1992's Malcolm X.
Oh, Mr. X, I want to be a Muslim. I mean, I ain't never seen a nigga, I mean, colored person, Negro, talk to no police like that before.
And you want to be a Muslim? You want to join the Nation of Islam?
Yes.
You know what that means? To be a Muslim?
Directed by Spike Lee, widely regarded as one of the greatest biopics of all time, the Oscar-nominated film chronicles the life of Malcolm Little's transformation into Malcolm X. Film, Malcolm X is played by Denzel Washington. Knew about this film for a number of years. I avoided it. I don't really know why. I think maybe it was because it's directed by Spike Lee, and sometimes with some Black directors that are men, if they aren't conscious of gender politics, I feel like I'm just hearing the B word half of a movie. And when I actually did watch Malcolm X for the first time, maybe about 5 years ago, I was blown away. I was blown away because, one, the assassination scene is brutal. Like, I went into it not knowing what to expect, and it was intense. But I think the movie is a sweeping epic that kind of really lets you into a lot of these really iconic moments and images throughout Malcolm X's life. And I think it's very stylized. I could definitely imagine 5 different kinds of Malcolm X movies, and I've obviously talked about biopics a lot on this channel, and I also have a video that is about the fact that 60s, James Baldwin was actually hired by a production company to write what would eventually become this biopic, and he faced a lot of issues with the studio trying to control it and a bunch of other things. And so the history behind this particular biopic is fascinating to me. Denzel Washington knocks it out of the park. If you're going for accuracy, probably not the best movie. If you're going for it is measured in its violence, and no. Is it impactful in what it shows you? Yeah. So I would highly recommend it. I love when you can have a visual reference for a period of history, and I love that this film gave me a really strong and beautiful and cinematic visual reference for Malcolm X. And the last movie on this list is 2014's Selma, directed by Ava DuVernay, nominated for Best Picture and winner of the Academy Award for Best Original Song. The film dramatizes the 1965 Selma to Montgomery marches and the passage of the Voting Rights Act. I saw it when it came out, and I think it was fall of 2014, and that period of time was such an explosion for me. I mean, I had just started my senior year. Michael Brown had been killed. I went to Ferguson. I suddenly had these protest experiences and images of things that I now look back and I'm like, oh yeah, some of that was probably definitely trauma. And I was just knee deep in the beginning of my radicalization journey, and I saw this in theaters, and I knew about the civil rights movement, Malcolm X, like Selma, but I just was not prepared for how reflective of the present moment I was experiencing that this movie about 1965 kind of made me realize and see right in front of me. And it was just shocking. The Black struggle for just even existence and equality in the American nightmare. It's brutal. I think some of the cinematic choices that the movie made honored that brutality. There are a lot of moments where I'm like, oh my, you're seeing people get whipped and whipped around, and it's intense, but I revere the journey that this movie shows Black people going through and the humanity that is at the core of so much of how our people have showed up through so much fucking white supremacy. Like, it's honestly like I watched this movie and I'm like, this is nuts. It's nuts that we're still going through this. It's nuts that what's happening now in this country is happening. And this movie is just a really solid reminder for me. Like, I watch it sometimes when I really need to be grounded in your people have fought through a lot of different things. And you're part of that legacy. And it makes me proud. It makes me sad. It makes me angry. I love Selma. It's not for the lighthearted though. Not for the lighthearted. Whew. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you have seen some of these movies. And if you have, let me know in the comments what you thought of them. Did you hate them? Did you love them? Are there any movies on this list that you've never heard of? And if you do end up watching one of them because of this, let me know or check out the letterbox list and add a bunch of those to your watch list. But thank you for watching.